same way. The United States, when you have a dictator there, that you fear, who's sitting there giving you these orders and this and that, it's not going to work because people are going to rebel because they have nothing to lose. When you put people in situations where, well, my life is pretty good, I got a nice house, I got a wife, I got this, I got that, where they have things to lose, if you give them a certain amount of an illusion of freedom, it's they're only going to go so far.
Oh, yeah, you kicked it. Yep.
And that's basically what the United States has done, and I think they did it from the beginning, meaning at the beginning of the country. I know we may disagree on that, but so they did it in a perfect way. And yeah, now you do have people. I mean, I don't know if you remember this article. It was maybe like 5 years ago, maybe a little less, where this guy was like, I don't care if they need to do a body cavity search on me. If it's going to keep us safe, then I'm fine with it. And that was basically the topic of my show yesterday was essentially why I forget the name of it, but why are people letting that ignorant to let the government brainwash them, or I forget the name of the fucking show, yeah. So I mean, at this point, I'm looking at things where I think we're screwed. Now, do the refugees end up coming in, do you think, or do they end up stopping them from coming in? Because the only thing, like I said, in general, as a libertarian or whatever, as somebody who believes in freedom, I do believe you can travel. You should be able to travel where you want. But you have the United States government bringing people in. I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with them spending money to do it. So, no, I don't want the people to come in. And on the other side is I know that they're going to bring in ISIS people on purpose. So if they want to conduct false flags, they will, and they'll have the people there. So what are the chances that they, that this happens?
Well, I'm sure they'll bring in some people to Syria. But to be honest, they don't have to import. All you have to do is take a look at the paid activists at Ferguson, Baltimore, Missouri, the University of Missouri, and they can go ahead and just get them to be radical and burn down places and do the whole 9 yards.
Well, you had another. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you had another. They were listing all of, and I don't know if you saw the clip Judge Napolitano did, where he talked about 1 year it was something like, or over a few years it was something like 20 terrorist plots that the FBI stopped. And if you looked at every single one of them, it was like 19 of them were people that they found on the internet. Yeah. And basically gave them everything. And they're talking about all that. They're giving numbers now, saying that in New York City, they stopped in the hundreds, that in Boston, they just stopped this big one on 4th of July. So they're feeding this bullshit to the American people as well.
Those are all lies because the FBI went before Congress under sworn testimony and was asked how many real terrorist plots did you have, all the surveillance and all this?
Yeah, and they said none.
Zero. Yeah. So when you hear from that's what I'm saying is the mainstream media is no longer required to give truth because it is a corporation, and the corporation's there's only one legal ramification for a corporation. You know what that is? The fiduciary responsibility to its shareholders.
Well, right? But isn't also the TPP going to change that to a point?
Meaning, expand it.
Meaning that they're going to be able to get away with a lot more as well at the same time.
Yeah, but if you own the judiciary, what's the point? You can't sue them. You can't, you can't get away with anything anyway. Think about it. Some of these drug companies, when they came out with some of those cholesterol drugs, that they found out that they were killing hundreds, if not thousands, of people. Did a single person go to jail? No, they paid a few $1 billion fine, and that was it. That's the way it is.
So, we went over a little. Are you able?
We can go another 8 minutes.
You're all right to stay till 10:30. Yeah. Okay. Great.
Or 11:30 my time.
Yeah, 11:30 your time, and then when the clocks change, we'll go back to that. So, I think a lot of this, and this is what I was going to say earlier, but I didn't get a chance to, and then I totally forgot. But is also, I think, getting the word out through, you have your website, you have your articles, marketing these things, getting shows like mine out, other shows out. I think, though, what happens now, you're doing what you're doing full time, right? You're doing writing the articles, and are you doing like any speaking engagements or any? Are you able to?
Occasional radio show. I've got Angel on Wednesdays. Every other week.
But I mean, anything that you make money off of?
No, I don't need to.
So you're good with, because even something like that, and I don't know, what.
Look, I'll tell you what. If you want to make money off of it, I wouldn't worry about the Levines and the Sean Hannitys. What I would do is I would send an email over to Jeff Berwick, the Dollar Vigilante.
Well, I've been hearing some things about him that are, and I don't know how well you know him. He was actually supposed to appear on the show. He agreed and everything. Mark Edge actually had told me from Free Talk Live that if I want anybody, that he knows on the show, he'll ask them for me. And he asked Jeff, and I talked to him, and he was supposed to come on the show. He didn't contact me, but I've heard some things going on with Jeff, whether not fraudulent, but I didn't get enough of the detail, so I don't want to say anything derogatory because I don't know. But I kind of just caught, like, you know what I mean? Like a couple headlines or people mentioning a couple things here and there. Is there anything? It goes back to that Gold's Gulch thing. And
I don't really know too much about that, and I really don't get involved. But my point is that he's able to have an independent voice in the alternative media, well respected by a number of different places that bring him on for interviews and podcasts and the 9 yards. So that to me is in the alternative media, that's the type of model I would look for. I think the other side of the coin is, just between you, me, and the cat upstairs type thing.
Listening?
Yeah, is focus not necessarily on just rants and evil is bad, but find specific topics.
Oh yeah, we do that as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, even if you did rather than 3 hour or 3.5 hour shows, like an hour and focus on a singular topic.
We do that. That's something that basically I do all the time, where I have a main topic, and then, when you're doing 3 hours, you want to mix things up. You want to make it entertaining. So I'll do some other stuff, but we'll focus on a main topic. So yeah, no, I do all that stuff. I think it's getting out. It's really getting the message out to people. Meaning,
and it'll start slow.
No, I mean the message of that there's a show out there, and the marketing of the show, and getting people to know it's out there, and then getting them to say, okay, I'm going to listen. But that's part of it that I think will, wake more people up and change the hearts and minds. And then from there, I think there's things we can do. But I almost think like it's too late. That window is closing very quickly. And what happens when we get to that point where we are in a Nazi Germany? Because, you know, you have that saying, I'd rather, live or die on my feet than live on my knees. And that's me, because I'd rather go out and I would. I'm not going to be in a country where, and I'm not saying that it's like that right now, but I'm saying if it gets to a point where it's, I use East Germany a lot as an example because, at least East Germany, they weren't really going after a race of people. They were just a hardcore kind of Nazi sort of state, but, where you had no freedom. So, and you had a wall, and you keep not you, but they keep talking about building the wall. Well, the wall is not just about keeping people out; it's about keeping people in as well. And it's
but you know what the wall is? The wall is a passport with a chip in it. You don't need a wall when you're going around with an RFID that they can see from every satellite, whatever. So the old philosophies on that, like I said, these things are as they've been around since ancient days. The only difference is technology.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, to me, they've been doing everything that's been going on. I mean, there was more freedom, and I think there was a higher level of freedom, so that freedom is slowly being taken away. But I think it started immediately being taken away, and then as you were saying, where. I totally forgot that point that you. I'm going to
bring up something here about freedom. Freedom actually is not something that is lasting. Eventually, it goes in cycles. There's like 7 steps. You go from servitude to revolution to freedom to apathy to and back to servitude. It happens. We had Martin Luther. Martin Luther started the Protestant Reformation movement. But eventually, even after all these people broke away from the Catholic Church and the hegemony of the Pope, at a certain point, they went back into their own servitude, as we see under the church, the Christian religion church system. It just goes in streaks.
Well, yeah, I think it goes in circles where what I think is you have a government that's going to be built up to an East, essentially in East Germany. But I think
the government... You have a people who no longer if you ask people what are the 10 amendments in the Bill of Rights, they can't tell you. If you ask people what the definition of liberty is, they can't tell you. What the definition of money is, they can't tell you. If you don't even know what the words mean, then freedom is a meaningless thing. So it's not necessarily the government imposing its will. But if the people don't even have an understanding of what these terms, what these things are, then they're already enslaved.
Well, they don't want to teach them in schools either.
No, the people don't care. You can go on the internet.
No, but I mean when you have
by yourself, but they don't even.
But when you have little kids, so we only got like 2 minutes, so I want to give you the last 2 minutes to say whatever you want before we go.
You're gonna see probably the status quo going through Christmas time, but there are going to be some really big geopolitical and economic things that are going to hit early on going into 2016. So people still have time to prepare themselves, to get out of the system, to try to stabilize and maybe find a supplemental or alternative way of making money, a way to a plan just in case prices go sky high. We're already seeing it with rents, and you've got to
definitely
look at
food too.
You can't just rely that the government's going to take care of you, because the government's plan of taking care of you is a FEMA camp.
Well, on that point,